Yeah. An even bigger one. Yeah. How do I do this? This is there it is. There we are.
Okay. So, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us promptly. All Ladies' Day today, All Women's Day today. So, we bow to you, dear ladies. Thank you for being with us. And Mark, over to you.
Well, yeah, thanks, Kuba, and apologies for my repeated absences in the past. I think there's been some very interesting communication emanating from Kuba and between the executive committee on various aspects and what we as an organisation should be now focusing on for this year, what issues we should be focusing on, what our objective is, and I think there's a executive committee meeting coming up next week, I think, Kuba, isn't it? That a lot of these things will be thrashed out, and then we can report back to the wider group. So I'm looking forward to that. That will be interesting. I think on positive news as far as ship management is concerned, and I guess the other ship managers on the call will confirm, there's a huge upswing in interest for third party or second party, or call it what you will, ship management. And we've seen, I think we have at the beginning of this year, nearly 50 vessels coming into our management. That's a huge upswing, huge interest, including from markets that previously weren't minded to go down the third-party ship management route. So that's good news for all of us. It means that the percentage of the fleet under third-party ship management is increasing and will continue to increase, and means also that the quality of the services that we're providing as a collective is certainly going up if owners are entrusting us in the management of their fleet. So all good news. Part of the reason to explain why we've been so busy, or certainly I've been so busy, it's on that front, but very, very good news for InterManager and its members. Over to you.
Thank you. And just very briefly, what was happening in last week and this week. InterManager is controlling and making sure that enclosed spaces are being, all the deaths in enclosed spaces are being controlled and monitored. We've got one very weird accident happening when we had two engineers, Ukrainian engineers, dying in their cabins. And you may say, well, why is this in enclosed space? Any relation or whatever? Well, we had in the past fumigation issues when the vessels were fumigated, bulk carriers, and actually suck in all the fumigants into the cabins, and people died. That's why we are keeping very close eye on this particular accident, making sure that if this does happen, then we will deal with it. InterManager started new committee for the fumigation as well. We've got now members participating in it, reading documents and preparing further documents and comments, suggestions. This is with relation to the enclosed space committee. We have co-signed, co-sponsored time pressure document prepared by other NGOs, ICS, BIMCO, Intertanko, Intercargo, and so on. This has been submitted on the 28th and is now in IMO, ready for the discussion and debate. Members are reporting continued issues with visas, Filipino visas and Indian visas. I am asking for details because it's very difficult for me to go back to European Commission without knowing which embassy is an issue. So I'm at the moment directly dealing with those who are reporting, but I think it warrants my message to all and asking for details. If you could please provide me with your issues, with problems, which country, which embassy is a problem, and which country, which town, it would help me enormously. European Commission is ready to discuss. So is American authorities when it comes to the US visa, especially for Indians. The other issue which is being discussed at the moment is the issue of Ukrainian seafarers coming back to European countries where their families are residing now and having some issues with 90 days rule. This is being discussed this morning as we speak. I would even say the discussion is raging between several European states. InterManager has raised this. We had a meeting with the European Commission this early morning, or well, representatives, and we are trying to see how we can actually propagate the best procedure, which is already applied by Spain and Poland, for example, and how can we transfer that to the countries which are dragging their heels. Members reported, and it is a serious issue for some of the seafarers who are not able to come back to their families already residing in Cyprus or Romania. Germany is actually pretty good, but I think, yeah, I'm dealing with it basically. So encouraging you and showing you what is happening at present with those situations. I think that's all from me at the moment. HTW next week in London, and I will be there actually in London attending together with Paddy, because we need to discuss few issues with flag states, like Marshall Islands, Liberia, and so on and so forth, talking on human element industry group issues. We also have a lifeboat, international lifeboat group meeting coming up early April, and I will be attending it myself. That's all from me. Thank you very much. We've got a presentation regarding waste management today. Highly recommended by one of our members, who I understand is already using services. And over to you, Silke and Catherine, please. And you will be sharing screen, I understand.
Yes, I will do so. Give me a second. So you should all see my screen now.
Yeah, we do.
And I will try to already move to the next slide, because the last appointment, it wasn't possible, right?
Yes,
Do you see
succeeded.
when I switch slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Then everything is working well. Great. So also a warm welcome from our side. My name is Catherine, and I'm the Director for Business Development and Sales within Top Glory Marine Service. And today also our Managing Director, Silke Fehr, is also participating. And we would like to talk about maritime waste management and the problems we are facing in this regard. But before we dive deeper into the topic, I would like to give you a very, very brief introduction into us as a company and what we are doing in a nutshell. So Top Glory Marine Service is a broker for waste disposal services worldwide. We have a platform of suppliers, disposal companies in the ports of our customers worldwide. We are founded 2013 in Oldenburg in Germany, and our team consists of 17 experts from waste management, from the shipping industry, and operating up to now more than 400 vessels in continuous service. And we have a good network of TGM branch offices in the strategic points worldwide. In the shipping industry, we are facing several issues regarding waste management. And the first and most important point is that we have the situation that there are no common rules and regulations regarding waste management and the corresponding treatment of same worldwide. And the most companies, shipping companies, don't know which disposal companies are attending the vessels, what is happening with the waste afterwards, and the services are mostly arranged in the most traditional way through the agencies, and that's it. And this leads also to the next issue, that there is no cost control or transparency. So the services will be invoiced through the FDAs in the end, which are sent out several months later to the offices. And out of experience, the costs for sludge and for garbage are not listed separately in the accounts. So 90% of the customers we have talked to were not able to tell us how much they spend on sludge or garbage for a vessel throughout the year. And on top of that, there is mostly also no strategy behind when planning waste disposal offloads in terms of cost efficiency. So as waste disposal is, of course, not on the top priority task within the overall ship operation, time for offload strategy is rare or non-existent on board as well as in the offices. plus the amount of work required to keep on track of cost structures in the ports, this would be enormous. So last but not least, the shipping companies don't track the waste offload of their ships in order to be able to monitor the efficiency of, for example, waste reduction measures. And yes, by having all these issues I mentioned now in mind, TGN was founded to support the industry and to cope with each of these issues. And I will dive deeper into each of the issues I mentioned now in a brief package in the next slides. So let's start with the most important one, that we have no common rules and regulations regarding waste disposal and the corresponding treatment worldwide. Worldwide, there are mainly just 3 types of waste treatment in place. So we're talking about recycling, about incineration, and about landfills. Especially when we talk about plastic waste, which is a big problem for our environment, for our oceans, for wildlife, and for us as human beings, the recycling rate is shockingly low, as you can see here. A look at the global recycling rate shows that recycling plastics is by no means the first choice. So more dramatic is also the fact that over 32% of plastic waste is remaining in our environment, which means in our oceans, in our waters, on illegal landfills, and it's burned uncontrollably. Just 14% of the plastic waste globally is put into recycling. So moreover, plastic waste is getting exported from USA, Japan, and Europe to Malaysia, Thailand, other Asian countries where the standards for waste disposal are much lower than we have in our countries, and which is one of the big factors leading to the high percentage of plastic waste remaining in our environment. But to not share only bad news with you, Germany's exported plastic waste has almost halved in a 10 years comparison. So having a look at 2011, it was about 1.48 million tons, which were exported, with only 770,000 tons in 2021. And as you can see very good, the drastic decrease in 2018, which was caused by the ban from China, where plastic waste was no longer accepted anymore. Of course, talking about the rules and regulations, we cannot dictate the ports and disposal companies how they should handle the waste. Depending on the country, on the region in which we arrange our disposal services through the disposal companies in our network, different national and local guidelines apply that we must accept, which means also that simply there is no recycling facility in place in those ports we are arranging services. On top of that, waste from international trading vessels is handled more stricter in many countries of the world, as this waste poses a much higher risk with regards to spreading viruses. This is also often leads to frustration of the crew, as you may already know. The crew is separating the waste on board the vessels into all different kind of MARPOL Annex 5 categories, just to see that the disposal company attending the vessel with a huge truck and mixing it all in the container again. So, however, this is just a procedure, and it has more to do with the fact that this is the more cost-efficient way of transport the waste itself. So, nevertheless, the European Union forces the countries to recycle more than ever, with a renewal of the regulations since 2019, but still under the focus of disease control, which makes recycling still difficult. Especially when it comes to freight ships, we are facing very small quantities in comparison to, for example, cruise vessels. On cruise vessels, where we have higher amounts of garbage accumulating, plastic waste is not just separated into one bucket for plastic waste, they are separating it into more kinds of plastic, like plastic bottles, packaging material, etc. And on top of that, which is very, very important for the recycling at the end, they also separated plastic into plastics which are not contaminated with food residues. And this makes the change. So this makes it easier for the disposal companies in view of disease control, and they can bring it to recycling. If they cannot ensure that the plastic waste is not contaminated with food residues, they need to burn it. So this was the common procedure in Germany, where garbage usually is brought to incineration in general. And they are now trying to change and are working on a solution to start by collecting the waste separately in different containers. Having a look at other countries, talking about Singapore, for example. In Singapore, they are collecting it not separately, but after collection, they bring it to the facility, and at the facility, it will be sorted again. And recyclable items will go to recycling, and non-recyclable items will go to incineration. When we are talking about the USA, for example, the waste collected altogether in big bags and is treated in an autoclave, and after that is brought to a landfill. So no recycling at all. More drastic is the situation in South Africa. So South Africa, Colombia, Panama, waste is simply collected and brought to a landfill. Of course, municipality, landfill, whatever, where also the normal household waste from the people living there is brought to, and without any treatment in advance. Just, for example, Mexico is making a slight difference, as they are requesting the last 10 previous ports. So also under the aspect of disease control, they are preventing garbage disposal when a blacklisted country was under the 10 last port codes. So there's a slight difference. But all in all, we cannot change the rules and regulations in each country, but we shall have a closer look at where we dispose, to whom we give the waste, and we have to try to reduce the waste. And of course, the plastic waste generated on board ships is not the only problem when it comes to plastic in our oceans. For this regard, we found a very nice picture showing what kind of plastic releases we have to face when it comes to freight ships. So we also have to keep in mind that fishing nets, ropes, coatings can also release small plastic particles into our environment as well. Having a look at the next issue, we would like to have a closer look in the fact that up to now, there are no real control about who is coming alongside for disposal. So ship managers often don't know which company is attending the vessel for the planned disposal service. And this makes it very difficult to control whether the company even has the necessary licenses to collect, transport the waste, and how they treat it. And we are taking up just companies into our network, which were improved from our side in advance in view of their licenses. So we are checking, as you can see here, that they are complying with all national rules and regulations, acting under full compliance with our Supplier Code of Conduct and Environmental Charter, and our own HSEQ department is auditing each supplier to ensure the highest environmental standards. The next issue was that there is no cost control and transparency for ships' waste given ashore, and offload strategies are rarely developed. So in the process of supplier selection, we are also collecting information about the costs for the disposal in each of the ports. And the more ships we have in our portfolio, the better prices we can negotiate again with our companies and our networks. So means that all shipping companies and ship managers benefit from the growth of our operated fleet. It's simple as it is. Cost of the disposals are reflected in our own developed environmental fleet cloud, but I will talk about this in the next slides as well. On top of that, we are having a look at the available schedules in order to optimize the offload, giving the crew on board the recommendations for the most cost-efficient port in their trade. We call this offload strategy. And this also leads to the last issue I mentioned, that there are no KPIs implemented regarding ship's waste. So when we are talking about the lack of KPIs, budget control, we already came to our own developed environmental fleet cloud. So in this fleet cloud, we are collecting data about every service from each vessel we are operating, and what was given ashore, where it was given ashore, in which amounts, which categories, etc., who was attending the vessel, and all the documents will be found there as attachments, like the MAPO receipt, and the copies of all invoices are made available, and you have full transparency over all services also as a customer. The customer will receive a customer login and can have an overview of the whole fleet. So this is, of course, a specific support for ISO 14001 and 19001 companies, as we are as well, but also for companies who are creating their own ESG reportings, like it's popping up and coming more and more, that ESG reports are generated by the companies. With regards to our environmental fleet cloud, we also train our customers to how to use our own environmental fleet cloud, how to do analysis. They can extract like Excel sheets from there. And we also offer to insert on the basis of the data we are collecting there, to implement KPIs from the customers in order to customize also the cloud for our own customers. And on top of that, we also encourage and guide customers to reduce waste production, especially plastic waste on board their vessels. So we are sharing ideas and best practices from our customers. Like one of our customers installed a kind of water hydration system. So the crew was provided with water bottles branded with a company logo, and can from everywhere on board get water from the tap, actually. And this, you can imagine, is saving a lot of single-use plastic water bottles. With our environmental fleet cloud, the customer is able to track the plastic waste accumulated before in a customized period and after the implementation of this measure, and can see how effective it was, or if he needs to put another measure into place in order to reach their plastic waste reduction goal for year X. So this tool shall simply support our customers in order to monitor, to analyze, and also to check the reductions from each measure for waste reductions. And yeah, so by just mentioning this an example, we are also trying to support our customers in this regard. And that's already it from my side. And I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you. I was muted, so I had to unmute myself. Silke, I was expecting you to speak as well. Any questions from you? Anything? No, you are here to support Catherine then.
I'm here to support, yes.
I understand. No, I tell you what, I really thank you for bringing this situation with different countries. As a seafarer, it really, really upsets us when people are segregating, doing their best. You go on board of the ship and you can see how proud seafarers are with all the bins. Filipinos love making little stencils and this and that. So you go and it strikes you. Then the ships really look after garbage. And then you come somewhere like US or other places and everything goes to one van. And people think, what's this? Why do we have that kind of things? And then as a senior officer on board, you have to motivate your crew and say, guys, but that's okay. That's fine. We have done our job. This is how we are supposed to do. But then you look like, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. This was very important for us to understand, and you are seeing that as well. It's not just us and something. I am also thinking that as an NGO, InterManager can play and should play the role. We used to participate in a very strong committee when it comes to waste provided facilities, reception facilities provided by ports, because there is an international rule which says that port cannot operate receive cargoes if they do not provide reception facilities. So if you are trading with oil, you have to have a reception facilities for oil, and so on and so forth. Your presentation immediately shows that it's not happening, and I would love to see your statistics. So my question to you is, do you keep statistics? Do you know which countries do not provide that, and you have to go somewhere, you have to advise the ship, for example, to keep the garbage, that particular part of the garbage, and discharge somewhere else because this port does not facilitate for that? Over to you.
Yes, exactly. So this is exactly what our job is consisting of. So we try to support the crew on board and recommend where to give ashore which kind of waste category. So we have an overview, a database filled with all the information, and we can easily tell the masters where to give ashore which kind of waste stream and where which waste stream is not, it's prohibited to give it ashore, for example. And he has to keep it on board and waiting for the next ports to give it ashore.
And do you see this actually being requested from you? Ship managers are asking, so they provide the master with this information?
Exactly. So to be honest, we are always in touch with the crew itself. So it's the best way and the most direct way to be in contact directly with the crew, with the master on board, to check regarding his schedule and the upcoming ports and what he would like to give ashore, to give him directly the advice where to give ashore which kind of waste stream. It's always, keep in mind, it's always just an advice. We don't force him to do anything. It's always an advice, and if storage tanks regarding sludge are full and he needs to dispose, he needs to dispose, of course. But always we try to have a look at the schedule, and that's what I mentioned. We are creating a kind of offload strategy, so the master already knows in advance what are the most cost-effective and the best ports for sludge disposal or for garbage disposal to give it ashore.
Thank you for that. I'm just checking whether we've got any hands from
Uber,
the floor.
can I just say something? I mean, just to vouch for Top Glory, we were recommended, Colombia was recommended to Top Glory by one of our competitors, actually. And this was at a time when we were looking at our own ESG credentials and sustainability strategy. And although we felt we were doing great things ashore and had terrific buy-in ashore for our sustainability strategy, sometimes along with, I'm sure the majority of managers and operators, sometimes our philosophies ashore weren't being translated to onboard the vessel and in the disposal of waste. And Top Glory has, at a stroke of a pen, solved that for us, insofar as we now know that our waste is being disposed to agents around the world who are approved, who are competitive, and who are green, and that I, as CEO, can just relax and know that we're doing everything we possibly can through Top Glory to ensure that we are disposing of waste in a sustainable manner. That to me is the right thing to do, but it's also the right thing to do for our people on board the vessels. It's the right thing to do for our people in the office, and it's the data that is collected is very easily translatable into our sustainability report. So we have all of the nice graphs and the pie charts and the statistics which support and give meat and give credibility to our sustainability report, which is produced annually. So really important. The question I've got, actually, and it's just something I was thinking of as you were speaking, is does Top Glory provide the same advice on recycling in the offices and ashore, because I think although we all do our bit, there's still a lot more that can be done, and this is something that perhaps I don't know whether you do it or not, but it's something perhaps you might want to look at.
Most of the time we are just concentrating on the vessels itself, of course, but for example, we as Top Glory Marine Service are compensating our own plastic waste by plastic credits from Everwave, for example. So Google it and be inspired, because they are having kind of small designed boats which are there for collecting garbage in critical areas. For example, they are currently in Cambodia and collecting garbage. Of course, most of it is plastic waste from the rivers there. And not just that, they are also raising awareness regarding this topic and get in touch with the NGOs there, with the municipalities, and to speak about it and include also the people living there to avoid this kind of garbage in the rivers in the future. So this is also a kind of way we would like to have a closer look at, because in the future, it could be not just interesting to have the audited suppliers from our side and a good, green, cost-effective offload strategy. We can also think about a kind of optimized waste offload regarding recycling. So if a shipping company is approaching us and tells us, okay, we actually don't want to save money with your services. We just want you to have a closer look at where the ships are disposing the waste of and if it's getting recycled there. So, as you know, what I already told you, that there are not really a lot of recycling facilities in place, but for each cubic meter or for each kilogram plastic waste which was disposed of in a port where no recycling is available, the shipping company could have the possibility to compensate the plastic waste given ashore via these plastic credits from Everwave.
Yes, so my point was more, Catherine, my point was more offices, you know, the actual offices. You could have I mean, you do very well on our vessels in relation to the disposal, but you could actually advise us also in the offices on more environmentally friendly practices and more environmentally disposal of waste. I still have this image. I wake up in a cold sweat sometimes of our chairman coming in to my office about 10 months ago with his arm full of plastic cups from the coffee machine and throwing them down on my desk and saying, I don't want to see any more of these cups in the office. And boy, did that change things, because now we have a ban of single-use plastics in the offices. We will be phasing out single-use plastics on board our vessels, or the objective is to phase out single-use plastics on board all of our vessels by the end of this year. You know, it sometimes starts in the office, and you know, that might be a good business line for you to look at.
Also a good idea. We will take this up.
Yeah.
And you were talking about KPIs, and I think when listening to Mark now, what a lovely competition I can perceive, you know, from the ship managers. There is a KPI, how much whatever you use, how much.
We love competitions.
I know. We are all alpha males and alpha females around
alpha
here,
people.
I suppose. So, okay, very good. Any other questions? Please, we don't want to dominate the floor. No. I've got a question as well, and it came actually, I don't know why people don't want to ask themselves, but hey, I've got a message now. I need to ask you about your visual aids. Do you have on your website anything which our members can actually borrow from you? Take any films, any educational things, and so on and so forth?
Actually, this is something where we are currently working on, and we will definitely let you know when it's finished.
Yes, please. I think InterManager members would love that. I've got this question here. So people probably are struggling themselves, and why to reinvent the wheel if we can actually? It would be a good marketing tool for you as well, I suppose. But on the other hand, if you could help us, then you are helping yourself in a way, I suppose. Very good. Very good. Okay, I've got a question. Please.
Hello. Yes, my name is Peter Jan. I'm working for Exmar Shipping Management. I have a question related to the database population. How is it actually populated? Because there is a lot of information data. Do the vessels have a software platform installed on the vessel, or do you send just the garbage receipts to by mail, or how is that actually organized?
Exactly. So we are always intend to keep the workload in the offices from our customers and on board the vessels as low as possible. So the masters, the captains are just sending over the MAPO receipt, and our documentations department is taking care of these data and inserting them into our systems.
Okay, and is the data then available for the crew on board, or is it only available for the office?
The crew on board can also have a kind of login. It would be the same login as for the customers, but this is on the customer side to decide if the vessel shall see the overview from the whole fleet or not. So this is definitely also possible. But of course, they need to have internet connection. But I think this is no problem in the current decades.
And how do you assure that no receipts are being missed? For instance, a new crew member who's not familiar with the working of this system, and then he forgets to submit it, because then the data is not legit anymore.
We are used to this, I can assure you. So therefore, we are having a monthly reminder sent out to all the captains by stating what kind of services were already passed on to our office, and asking if there is something missing, please go ahead and send us the missing certificates. So there is a monthly reminder, so nobody shall forget about it.
Okay, and there is no additional verification done by the garbage record book or so?
Actually, it has to be the same amounts. So if the things they are inserting into the garbage record book need to be the same like on the MAPO receipt. Otherwise, the ships have to claim the same.
Yeah, but do you do this verification, or is it just randomly?
The verification has to be done on board, of course.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Many thanks for your question.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Not seeing any more questions, I'm inclined to close our meeting today. Mark, as usual, always to you. Final word?
No, thanks very much to everybody. Congratulations to all the women on the call for International Women's Day. Charlotte, good to see you again there. That's great. And see you next time. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm switching the recording off now.
Thank you.